we're going to go ahead and get started. And you guys, if you have questions along the way, you can go ahead and put them in the chat. First of all, I'm Tiersa, the owner of CrossFit Preferred.
I'm Megan.
We are the nutritionists at CrossFit Preferred, and a lot of you guys we've helped currently or in the past. And if any of you guys are interested in working with us, you can book a free consultation with us at any time. You can reach out individually to us or text the phone number for CrossFit Preferred, or even go on our website and fill out the free consultation form that we have. So this month, our nutrition talk is food, mood, and stress management. And you might be wondering, how does food really affect our mood, and why is it important to talk about it? And I have lots of experiences in my life where food has directly affected my mood. First of all, we're not just talking about being hangry, which is a real thing, especially with me. But we're also talking about how the emotion behind like some of the foods that we use for celebrating, also with stress management. And just the first step is identifying how we use food to deal with stress, and then replacing that with some other healthier habits so that we can get to a point where we're no longer using food as a crutch and there's no more emotion attached to food. Because when we can do that, we can look at food as a way to fuel our body and no longer as a way to release stress. And really quick story that I've shared probably 10 times. Is when a lot of you guys know that I have 5 kids, and they came quickly. Let's just say that. My oldest was 7 when I had twins, so we have 5 kids in 7 years. And I really used food as a way of stress management and a way to relieve some of the stress that goes along with having a large family that is young. And I didn't notice that I was using food as a way of managing my stress until I started CrossFitting, actually. Even though my background is in nutrition, I hadn't really learned how to apply it to myself until I started CrossFitting. And then once we bought the gym and I wanted to help other people, I had to use myself as a guinea pig first. And once I identified that I was turning to peanut butter M&Ms and Diet Coke to help relieve my stress, it for me was enough to just identify that and to be able to learn how to replace it with something healthier. Now, there are a lot of people that have years and years of emotional eating that it takes a lot longer to deal with that and to find a healthier habit to replace that with. And the whole focus here is progress, not perfection. So we're not looking for you to be perfect every single time. I'm going to use one of my nutrition clients as an example. Hopefully she doesn't mind. Last month when I met with her, she told me that she was very, very stressed. She had a lot of things going on in her personal life that were very stressful, as well as some health issues with her mom and some big events that were coming up with some friends of hers where she was the maid of honor for a couple of friends' weddings. She had a lot of stress. And her go-to is flaming hot Cheetos. So when I asked her, I said, what do you mean you emotionally eat? Like, what are you eating? She's like, flaming hot Cheetos. Every time it's flaming hot Cheetos. I'm like, okay. So identifying it is the first step. And then finding a way to replace that with another habit. And for her, what we did is we decided that every time she felt like she was going to emotionally eat, grab those flaming hot Cheetos, she was going to drink a glass of water and set a timer for 10 minutes. And if she still wanted those flaming hot Cheetos in 10 minutes, then she chose to have flaming hot Cheetos. But at least it was a conscious choice and it wasn't just a mindless thing that she was doing to help release some stress. And I haven't been able to check up with her yet to see how that's working. I'm hoping it's working good, but if it's not, that's okay. We'll find something else. And it's not about being perfect in that. And even if she's doing that half as much as she was before, that's still progress. So that's what we're looking for. And we're going to teach you guys some ways to replace some of the unhealthy, habits that we've formed over time and find some things that are going to help move us in the direction that we're looking for. So let's talk about what it means to emotionally eat, and how the foods we eat do affect our mood. So if you think about what a typical diet is for most Americans, it's not good. And so lots of times we think we think like how we eat is the norm because this is who we associate with. This is like our circle.
Yeah.
And so we're like, okay, this is like normal. And then we step outside our circle and we realize it's not.
It's not.
And so a lot of people are, we're on the go constantly. So they're raising families on fast food, high processed sugary foods, high fat, low protein, packaged foods, whatever's quick and easy and able to get on the table.
Yeah.
And 25 to 35% low, we've found that a 25 to 35% lower risk of depression occurs when following a diet that is higher in fruits and vegetables and lean meats. Mm-hmm. And so it really does affect our overall mentality and the way we feel about ourselves, but not just because of what we might look like or how we feel, but there are actually hormone responses to the foods that we eat when they're like that. So what I try to do personally is I try to follow, 90% of the time I'm eating pretty clean. In fact, tonight, I wasn't going to share this, but here we go. I made a very healthy dinner. I made ahi tuna ceviche and put it on tostadas. In fact, I just posted it on I posted it on my personal page and then I tagged the gym, but I haven't put it on the stories yet. But what you can't see is what's sitting on the counter over there, which is a peach pound cake with frosting. So it's all about balance, right? And when you're first starting out on a journey, it's sometimes you're not able to make those kind of things and have them in your home and to participate in them in a reasonable way. But because I've been doing this for long enough, I can make something like this. I can have a little bit of it and then share it with my neighbors. My neighbors love me because I drop treats off randomly at their door a lot because I like to try stuff and then I just give it away so it's not too tempting. Yeah. I'll bring some of this to the gym tomorrow and share with friends and stuff. But so I follow like a 90-10 rule. Sometimes it ends up being 80-20, but the reason I do this is because when I eat really high sugar, and I know that you can say the same, I don't feel good. So like today's workout was really, really hard for me because I didn't track my food yesterday. I didn't mindfully eat well. I didn't eat enough food during the day. And then I had peach crib. It's peach season, guys. We got lots of peaches in this house. So I made a peach crisp last night and had peach crisp and vanilla ice cream. And then I tried the heavy back squat and that took all my energy. Yeah. So then I no longer had energy for the workout. Yep. And I finished that workout thinking, that was not worth it. I've got to eat more next Sunday. Yeah. I was thinking I would kind of balance off the dessert I was going to have at night and eat a little less in the day. Yeah. And it didn't work, guys. It was a bad idea. So sometimes you have to learn by trial and error, and paying attention to how you feel after you eat certain things is really helpful to know. Just be mindful of, okay, next week I don't want to do that. And that's actually another thing that we did with, that I do with a lot of my clients is I have them keep a food journal that is not like writing down what foods they're eating. It's about how they feel each day, their energy level and their hunger level based off of what they're eating. And then over time you can see like how certain foods you're eating make you feel. So I think that's something that you can do if you have a hard time with like getting in enough food or being fearful of food or using food as a way of coping with stress.
I did. So last week, crumble cookie had like all of my flavors, and I was looking at the cookies and I was going to go make a run and buy like one or two, but I was feeling really good. Like I was feeling really good with my food that I was eating and my nutrition. And I kind of did like an inside check. And I was like, okay, my workouts feel really good. My body feels really good right now. I'm feeling great where I'm at. And knowing going to crumble, I know that I don't eat a whole cookie. I'll eat a piece and then put it away. And then I probably won't touch it for, a day or two. But I know that like I eat those couple pieces, I'm not going to feel as good as I feel right now. So then kind of making the mindful choice not to go. And I had actually made some cookies. We posted them last Friday, and they're like an almond butter base with no flour. And I went home and I had a half of those. And I felt really good. I felt like it was a really good choice, and I didn't feel sluggish or anything like that. So.
Well, and that actually kind of ties into what we're going to talk about next. So I want you to think about like a year's time, and think about the times of the year we celebrate. So, all the major holidays we're celebrating, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and all the major holidays, but also we've got birthdays and anniversaries. And if you have a big family like ours, we have a lot of birthdays. And so those are times where we might feel like indulging a little bit more. And we think about those times, and there are feelings involved around the food. Like when I think about Thanksgiving, I think of food. When I think about Christmas, I think of my sister's baking day that we do.
Yeah.
And like,
I think of that too.
Yes. And like birthdays, we all go out to dinner as a family. Like there's food associated with all these major events that we have. And that is why we have emotional connection to food, because it's commonly paired with an event.
Yeah.
And it's important to know that there's a time for feasting, and that is a time. In fact, one of our members, Seth Trout, shared an article that he wrote for his church last week. And I asked for permission today if I could share some of the stuff that I learned from it. And it was really, really good. And I loved the direction, because it made a lot of sense to me. And so his article was about fasting, feasting, fasting, and feeding. And that there's a time for each of those. So indulging in foods we don't normally eat is a time where we're feasting, and they're usually associated with a special occasion throughout the year. And we need to giving ourselves permission to have that time to feast is totally acceptable and creates a healthy relationship with food, because it's realistic, it's lifestyle. And that's actually what we really focus on when we do our nutrition coaching, is how to create a lifestyle that is sustainable. And so this feasting time should be, anywhere from 10 to 15% of your fueling time. So if you think about a week's time, that's one day a week where you may not be perfect, and you may have a meal that is more indulging, or 4 days a month. So that kind of gives you an idea of how that works. But then we fall into that feeding state. And that feeding state is where we should be 80 to 85% of the time. And when we're in that feeding state, we're eating based off of what we need, not what we want. And the feasting state is we're eating what we want. And usually it's because it's associated with an emotion or a event. And that's okay. But fueling the rest of the time, that 80-85% of the time, should be things that your body needs based off of what your activity level is, fueling for your workouts, fueling for your daily tasks, looking at food as a way to fuel instead of the emotional connection. And then we have the fasting state, and the fasting is something we spend less than 5% of our time in. And I'm not talking about like the intermittent fasting that some people do. I'm talking about actually taking a break and fasting, starving your body of what it needs. And this can be used for religious purposes. It can also be used to reset your body. And there's a lot of health benefits to fasting. And so that is something that we can all do to kind of reset everything. So spending too much time in that feasting state can affect brain function. It can increase our cravings and lead to overeating. So how many of us can relate to thinking about reaching for something sweet right after we finish a meal? I was there for a very long time. And there's times where I'm still in that state. And usually it's after the holidays when I have like gotten into a habit of that feasting state more than normal. And then I try and go back into that feeding state, and I want something sweet after dinner.
And it's like an addiction.
It is like an addiction.
Because it's all you can think about.
And so that is an emotional response tied to a physical action, such as eating. It's something that we have taught ourselves to crave, and it's something that we can fix. And I don't believe in an all or nothing mentality. I believe in that there is room for everything. And so some people may do really well with just like cold turkey. For me, I would do better with having like one dark chocolate peanut butter cup after dinner, having something, and then like over time kind of eliminating that. So everybody's different, and some people do great. You kind of learn where we do good at.
Yeah. So now that we've gone over feasting, feeding, and fasting, we'll now see, So now we'll spend some time on the feasting side and fueling our bodies. So let's talk about what happens.
So talk about what happens when we are in that
the
feasting state for too long.
Serotonin. So serotonin is a hormone that is produced from our bodies. It helps make us happy, but it helps us with our digestion, our feelings, sleep. Serotonin receptors, they actually are located in your gut. So if you have someone who has an unhealthy gut or an unhealthy diet, you can kind of see mood changes within that. So you'll see, anxiety, depression, a lot of things are showing that bad diet then creates those feelings and those moods.
Mm-hmm. So having, an excess amount of sugar can disrupt your gut bacteria, which can affect the serotonin levels and which can cause depression and anxiety. So there is a direct correlation between high sugar diets and your overall mood.
Yeah.
So now that we know our food is truly playing a role in our mood, here's what we can do to start finding a way to move into that healthier side. We teach something called the plate method. This, in my opinion, is the easiest place to start. It allows us to keep things really simple, choose things that are healthier on the circle of the plate. And so we're going to just go over what the plate method is. Some of you guys already know this. Here we see half of this plate is divided. And that half, that bigger half, is our non-starchy veggies. So if you're first starting to kind of look at your food and you're wondering portion sizes and what kind of foods you should be eating, this plate method is a great starting point. So you have half your plate non-starchy veggies, and if you have access to a glycemic index, non-starchy veggies are going to be low on the glycemic index, which means that it's not going to spike your blood sugar, and you're going to have a more moderate blood sugar rise. So you're not like table sugar, for example, it's going to spike your blood sugar, and then you're going to drop really quickly. So we want to avoid those. So those non-starchy veggies are going to give you the fiber, the carbohydrates that your body needs, your brain needs, but it's not going to spike your blood sugar. Then you have half your plate is going to be lean proteins, such as seafood, fish, chicken, tofu, things like that. And then the other half of your plate is going to be a starchy carb, like a potato or fruit or rice or breads. And then you can see up on the side of the plate where there's some oil, an avocado and some oil. So that is your fat. And fat, we've talked about this before, but fat is very dense. Mm-hmm. So you're getting more than twice the calories per gram of fat. So your serving size is going to be a lot smaller. And that's why it's kind of off to the side like that, especially because you can get some fats in your meat as well. Yep. And so you just have to pay attention to where your fat is coming from. Would have been good to know. Okay. 1 second, guys. Chris just told us that you guys can't see our pictures. I see. There we go. There's your plate method.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Okay, so there, we'll kind of go over that again. So you can see half your plate is non-starchy veggies. You've got tomatoes, cauliflower, broccoli, peppers, things like that, carrots. And then you have half your plate lean veggie or lean proteins. Mm-hmm. And then the other half is starchy carbs. Sorry, the other quarter is starchy carbs. Mm-hmm. And then your fat's up in the quarter.
All right, so now let's talk about what sugar does to your body. So your brain requires glucose, which is a form of sugar. It helps give you energy. A lot of glucose, your glucose levels will rise when you eat, a carb-based breakfast and then go work out. That's where your energy comes from when you're working out, is those carbs, the sugars, the glucose. But too much of that could be a problem. Having, a bunch of sweet treats and then an hour later, you're hungry and you're reaching for them again. It's very easy to, especially when, you're hanging out with family and everybody's just kind of sitting around the kitchen and there's cookies, you'll eat a cookie and then 5 minutes later, you eat another cookie. And it's just always easy to go back because your body keeps craving that feeling, that happy feeling that the sugar is giving you.
Yep. And that glucose, like we said, does go straight to the brain. But when we eat it in an excess, that's when we see that glucose is either being used as energy or it's getting stored in a fat cell for later use.
Yep.
And so knowing what glucose does to our body is important, and making sure that we're eating at a moderate, eating what we need, but not in an excess, so that we can still see results in our body composition. So what happens to your blood sugar when we consume a high amount of sugar? So think about your kids. My kids are normal kids. Like, we have sugar in the house. So I'm not the mom that absolutely doesn't have any sugar in the house. We do have sugar in the house. They probably have a little bit more than they should, but it's realistic. So every once in a while, I will give that, for special occasions, like the boys had their birthday this last week. And they got to have soda. Can you guys picture kids on soda? What happens? They go crazy. They go nuts because they're getting this rush of sugar. And then about 30 minutes later, what happens? Think about Halloween.
Yeah.
They're crazy. And then all of a sudden they just crash. And it's because their blood sugar spikes and then it crashes. So researchers found a relationship between this high and crash of our blood sugars and mood disorders such as depression, anxiety, as well as learning and memory function. So how's sugar causing this? Sugar suppresses an important hormone called BDNF, and that actually is lower in people that are depressed and have mental disorders or have anxiety. And so it really does affect the hormones that we have. Sugar also promotes inflammation in our body, which can affect our gut. And that's actually something that I've seen firsthand in my mom, who has rheumatoid arthritis. If she has any sugar, the inflammation throughout her body and in her gut. In fact, even me, now that I'm eating less sugar, I have sugar, my stomach hurts so bad. And it definitely gets bloated. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yep.
So it's causing inflammation, which over time can cause chronic disease. It increases, it can cause blurred vision, difficulty thinking, fatigue, and it can also affect our memory ability. I don't need anything affecting that, guys.
It's hard. It's hard enough as it is. So sugar hides everywhere. You really got to read labels. There's lots of different names for sugar. So trying to identify it can be hard, but taking charge and doing a couple easy steps to try and block sugar out. One great way is balanced snacks. We snack throughout the day. The best thing for snacking is treating a snack almost like a small meal. You want to make sure you have your proteins, your carbs, and your fats. And we have a couple of really great balanced snack ideas. Berries with a hard-boiled egg. The berries, those are your carbs. The hard-boiled egg is your protein and your fats as well. You could do a slice of, I think it's chicken on a rice cake with a splat of hummus. That's actually really good. Jerky with an apple, some nuts, Greek yogurt, anything that is a good split in smaller than an actual meal size. Those are all great snack ideas. And a lot of them are, if you have a Greek yogurt, it's higher in protein and it's also lower in sugar, which is great as well.
Yep. And there is a difference in our Greek yogurts. And so you do want to look at the food label and look at the sugar content, which will affect the carb content.
Yep.
So finding one that's low in carbs, something I like to have Greek yogurt that's 10 or less grams of carbs, which is going to have less added sugar.
Yep.
So our favorite one is that
Too Good
yogurt. And it is definitely, I think it's like 3 grams of carbs.
Yep.
And so then we just add berries, and I sometimes will add half a scoop of protein powder.
I do the same.
Things like that to help sweeten it up and also give it like a little bit more texture.
Yep.
So that's a very, very common snack for us. And for me lately, because again, it's peach season, that is my treat at night too. So I'll do a vanilla Too Good yogurt with half a scoop of vanilla protein powder in it, 1 peach, and a little bit of high fat granola. And I've got my fat, my carbs, and my protein, and it's a very balanced snack. And it's about 200 calories. So that's kind of what we're looking for. We talk about turkey and cheese roll-ups a lot. That's something that's so easy to take on the go. Jerky and nuts. What are some of the other snacks that I do?
I do like carrot sticks with cherry tomatoes, and then you can dip them in hummus or.
And I actually lately I've been buying the Greek yogurt, spinach, and artichoke dip from Trader Joe's.
That stuff is really good.
It's super good, and I'll just cut up a bunch of veggies. In fact, last night I had cut up veggies for dinner, and there were some left over. And so when my 15-year-old got home from school today, that was what she grabbed, because it was and she grabbed that spinach Greek yogurt dip, and it was a very healthy, balanced snack. So cottage cheese and fruit. My kids love cottage cheese and fruit, so we do a lot of that. So just looking for ways to make, like I always think of what's my protein. So just looking for ways to keep that balanced so that you're not going for carbs, because the carbs are the easy thing to go for. And I know you guys all know that. So far we've talked about how your food is affecting your mood, but let's kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about how that can affect our stress management. Sorry guys, I have to toggle. Okay. So we live in a world that's constantly throws stress at us, but you have to take the time to consider how it affects you in your overall health. We all live stressful lives. And if you say you don't, you're lying. Even if you have downtime, you end up feeling it. You know, like on Saturday, I had nothing to do. And what did I do? I did this and that and that. And like, I wasn't even home till like 4:00 that day. And I really had nothing to do. So we're always filling our time with something. But when we have a high stress load, it increases our cortisol levels, which leads to an increased blood sugar and inflammation, like we talked about earlier. And it can also suppress our immune system, which is something really kind of scary right now, just because of everything that's going on. We want to make sure our immune system is fighting and doing the best it can for us, so that if we do get sick or we do come in contact with something, we're able to fight it off the best that we can. And it can also, and this is very important, it can also decrease the nutrition, the way we metabolize the foods that we eat. And that is why we focus on stress management with a lot of our nutrition clients. You know, a lot of our clients come to us with the goal of lowering their body fat and increasing muscle mass. And although we love to do that, we have learned that, and they start to learn with us, that over time, that is just an added byproduct of the other things that we're teaching. And one of those things is stress management, how to overcome some of the other things so that it will show up on the scan. Because it's not just about the foods that we eat. Because increased stress may also cause weight gain and water retention, which can affect your overall scan. And it can cause high blood pressure and fatigue, and can totally drastically change our mood and make us more irritable, and affect our insulin levels, which again will affect how we metabolize things. It'll also change our desires to work hard. If you're feeling depressed and feeling less motivation, we're not going to try when things get hard, or we're going to have less ability to resist the temptations as they come. And they're everywhere. Temptations are everywhere. So it's clear that while stress often flies under the radar in our journey, we need to take control of this if we want to increase our overall health and mood. And this is often the underlying cause of unwanted body composition. So how do we approach this with our nutrition program? Again, we talk about what are some good coping mechanisms? And we're going to talk about that now. So while stress isn't as simple to navigate around the sugary beverages, we can work on proper stress management techniques. So practicing mindfulness when presented with stressors gives us alternative ways to process and handle what is happening. So there's a little thing you can see right here. It says stop. The S stands for slowing down. So a lot of times we are on the go, go, go. I have another nutrition client that's coming to mind that I won't name names, but she is a busy mom. Mm-hmm. She works and has 5 kids, and her husband travels, and she is very, very busy. And so sometimes sometimes she kind of puts herself on the back burner. Mm-hmm. But when she takes time to slow down and put some things in place, prepping some of her food or having a plan for the next day, it really helps eliminate some of her stress, and it gives her confidence to know that she can carry on and move forward in the right direction. So just slowing things down. The next thing is just take a breath. I had something happen to me last Sunday, not yesterday, but the Sunday before. We had family dinner coming. We had people coming over for family dinner, and I was making a dessert, and I stuck it in the freezer. And when I turned around to grab something, it slid out of the freezer and crashed and landed and broke all over the floor about 45 minutes before everybody was getting here. And I had to go put myself in timeout. I'm like, I need a break. I went straight in the guest room and I just took big, deep breaths, probably 30, because I was really upset. I just went to all that hard work. And so I had to take these big, deep breaths and just try and calm myself down. And it worked awesome. And that's actually something I teach my kids too, is, okay, deep breaths. I have one daughter who deals with a little bit of anxiety, and she gets these little panic attacks, and that's something that we work with her, is just taking deep breaths and controlling her heart rate and just trying to calm down a little bit, because you can't think logically when you're in that state. You're in that fight or flight state. So O stands for observing what you are feeling in your body, such as what you're thinking and what other possibilities you might have to deal with the situation. Like I said, you can't really think logically until you have had a chance to calm down. So it kind of goes in order: slowing down, taking a deep breath, and then observing the other options that you have. And then P stands for proceed and consider multiple possibilities, and realize that there's not one way to move forward. And trying different ways is going to help you to know what works best for you.
So taking time during stressful moments to stop and become more mindful will help you navigate. But we have other ways to help with that as well. 5 other tips would be exercise. I know that I can come into the gym and kind of feel stressed from the outside world, coming into the gym and kind of leaving my stress at the door, and then putting that aggression into my workout and my lifts and everything like that. I walk away and I feel good. That stress that I had, it's still, the item is still there, but now I'm coming in, I'm calmer, I'm coming in with almost a different set of eyes to kind of relook at it and rethink. Exercise is my thing. When I don't have it, I'm not nice. I'm a mean person.
I am the same way. And when my kids were little and I would drag all 5 of them to the gym, and people were like, "Oh, you're so awesome. You're driving your kids to the gym." I'm like, no, this is my time. This is how I'm a good mom, is I take this time for myself and I exercise, and that makes me a better mom for them. And so, and not everybody uses exercise in that way, and that's totally okay. My sister is not somebody that uses exercise as a way to decompress, but she will take me time for herself, and she will meditate, or she'll go sit in she'll drive up the canyon and sit under a tree, and that is how she decompresses and how she handles her stress. And she has a pretty high stress level. She's the breadwinner for her family, has a husband, has a chronic illness. And so she deals with stress that way, and that works for her. And so exercise isn't the only way.
No,
you know, we like our circle is kind of that way, but not everybody, that can be really stressful for some people.
Exactly. Yeah. When I grew up in Maine, and where I grew up, we were next to the ocean. And so for me, before, I hadn't really done much working out when I lived up there. So for me, a stress reliever was I would go sit on the beach. I'd stick my toes in the sand and I would sit on the beach. And it didn't matter if there was snow on the ground or if it was in the middle of summer, the beach was where I would feel much better and I could kind of rethink my issues. And
that's cool.
Yeah. So another way is having a journal, writing down your feelings, or even, you know, waking up in the morning and kind of just writing down how you feel and any anxieties you might have that are going to come with that day. You know, if you have meetings, and just kind of getting those anxieties out on paper, and that helps a lot. Meditation, yoga, yoga and meditation are great. There's a lot of breath work that comes into that. With meditation, you're really going within yourself and kind of feeling other things other than what's going on in the outside world. Talking to someone, if you have a really strong support system, being able to sit down and talk about how you feel. And if you're nervous about doing something, being able to tell someone about being nervous and having them kind of talk back with you about it so you can work that all out. That helps. Practicing mindfulness. This kind of can go back to journaling, where you know you have something coming up and you're anxious about it, kind of sitting down and taking a moment and thinking about that and what's making you feel anxious, and helping with kind of moving your thought process a little bit. And what's making you feel stressed out? Okay, well, this, and this, and kind of working that through and kind of changing your mind in a way.
Yeah. And I can say that each one of these things I've used for a lot of my clients. You know, the one that I talked about earlier that was dealing with a lot of stress, I had her go get a journal, and she'd never journaled before.
Yep.
And we had her answer some simple questions, write down something that she's grateful for, write down something that she's stressing over, and write down an action step on what's one thing she can do to help eliminate some of that stress that day. And then write one thing down that she can do for herself, because she's a mom, a single mom, and somebody who tends to put others before herself. And so that is a way that she is using to kind of deal with some of the stress in her life, because there's sometimes where we have stress over things that we don't have control over, and moving towards food to try and eliminate that stress is actually going to cause more stress because of the way it affects our hormones.
Yep.
I have another nutrition client that uses meditation, and sunlight.
Yeah.
She goes out every single day and sits in the sun, and that's a non-negotiable for her. And that has really changed her overall mood. And then the meditating and yoga she also does. And then, you know, we have our job, like we're here to help support you guys in your fitness journey, but it's so much more than that. Like, we become friends with all of you guys, and we understand like the stresses that you deal with. And just recently we had a member of our gym who was really going through a lot of stressful situations, and she's able to talk really openly with Megan and some of the other members of our gym, and kind of talk through those stressful things. And she knows that she has a good support system with them, even though they may not fully relate with her because of what she's going through. That she still knows that they are there for her. And practicing mindfulness is something that we often do with our food, but it can be applied to any situation. So just slowing things down in that way is awesome. So we talked a lot about how sugar can affect our overall hormone levels, and which will again directly affect our mood, depression, anxiety, all of that. And then we gave you guys some tips on how to overcome some stressful situations, how to manage that, and how to help replace some of those unhealthy habits with some healthy habits. So if you haven't tried any of those stress management tips that we gave you, I want to challenge you guys to pick one thing that resonates with you and try it this week and see how it goes. And we would love to hear back from you and hear what worked for you, because again, we are always learning.
Yeah.
We love to talk about it because there's always something new to learn.
Yep.
And so we like to hear from you guys what worked, what didn't work, and any tips that you guys have for us so that we can in turn help other people.
Yep.
If you currently are working with us, we absolutely love it. If you are in a slump and you feel like you just need to take that next step and have some guidance on how to navigate your health and fitness journey, we would absolutely love to help you. And again, you can reach out to us individually. You can go to CrossFit Preferred's webpage and click on the nutrition tab and book a free consultation. If you are a member of the gym, you can talk to us at the gym. There's lots of ways to contact us. So we would be happy to help you navigate that journey and be a support system to you. So we are going to, first of all, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and open it up to any questions that you guys have. If there's anything that has worked for you in the past that you want to share that might be helpful, or if you have any questions that we didn't cover, we'd be happy to help. So we'll just give you guys a minute or so to jump on the chat. Or you can unmute yourself or turn your camera on and we can see you.
Yeah.
You just stare at our pretty faces.
I'm going to steal your timer idea, though. This is Phil.
Okay. Well, you know where to find us if you have questions. We are happy to help. So thanks again for joining us tonight. And we hope you guys have an awesome day. And I'm sure we'll see you all soon.
See you later.
Bye.